A miasma of dread clings to the year 2060, a date whispered with a morbid fascination, an almost palpable sense of impending doom. Throughout the bleak annals of human history, the shadow of annihilation has stretched long and dark, captivating and haunting the feeble minds of men. From the rantings of obscure prophets, their eyes wide with unsettling visions, to the grim pronouncements of figures of unsettling renown, a litany of voices has dared to peer into the abyss of the future, attempting to decipher the cryptic signs that may herald our ultimate dissolution. Yet, from this cacophony of voices, one emerges with a gravitas most profound and disturbing: the name of Sir Isaac Newton. Newton, a name that should be synonymous with the cold, hard light of scientific reason, a titan whose very existence warped our understanding of mathematics, physics, and the alien geometries of optics, is, paradoxically, an unlikely harbinger of cosmic dread. His Principia Mathematica, a cornerstone of what we pathetically term modern science, laid down the immutable laws of motion and the unsettling dance of universal gravitation, offering explanations for phenomena that had plagued the sanity of thinkers for eons. His work on calculus, a language of cold, precise change and motion, and his experiments with light, revealing the disturbing truths of its nature, mark him as a mind of unparalleled analytical power, a solitary beacon of reason in an era still choked by the fetid vapors of superstition. It is precisely this jarring contrast, the stark juxtaposition of Newton's towering scientific intellect with his descent into the maddening depths of biblical prophecy, that lends an air of profound and unsettling mystery to the 2060 prediction. This was no mere casual conjecture, no fleeting, insignificant thought scribbled in the margins of some forgotten notebook. Rather, it was the end result of years of fevered, obsessive study, a deep, disturbing plunge into the labyrinthine world of biblical texts, particularly the books of Daniel and Revelation. These were not mere intellectual exercises for Newton, they were a terrifying quest for a deeper, more sinister truth, a search for the hidden, perhaps malevolent, hand of the divine in the unfolding cosmic drama of history. The true horror of this prediction is inextricably intertwined with the discovery of Newton's theological writings. Unlike his scientific works, which were thrust into the light, meticulously published and disseminated for the consumption of a world clinging to the illusion of understanding, his religious studies remained shrouded in secrecy, confined to a vast, disturbing collection of manuscripts that lay dormant, forgotten for centuries in the dusty, lightless vaults of forgotten libraries. It was only in the mid-20th century that these documents, like some unearthed, blasphemous codex, began to emerge from the shadows, revealing a side of Newton, a darkness within, that few had ever suspected. Within these unsettling manuscripts, a recurring theme emerges with the inevitability of some cosmic horror, the attempt to unlock the secrets of biblical prophecy, to decipher the coded messages that Newton, in his hubris, believed held the key to understanding the timeline of God's plan for humanity. He saw the Bible not merely as a book of faith, but also as a historical and cosmological text, a divinely inspired, yet utterly alien, blueprint of the past, present, and future. He meticulously, obsessively, analyzed biblical passages, searching for patterns, numerical sequences, and symbolic language that he believed, in his growing madness, pointed to specific dates and events, markers on the road to some unspeakable destiny. His descent into the year 2060 stemmed primarily from his tortured interpretation of the Book of Daniel, a text rich in apocalyptic imagery and chronological puzzles that hint at realities that would shatter the sanity of any man. Newton, like countless deluded theologians before and after him, grappled with the complex, unsettling symbolism of Daniel's visions, particularly the prophecies concerning the time, times, and half a time, and the enigmatic, maddening numbers 1260, 1290, and 1335. He interpreted these figures not as the literal durations of earthly events, but as symbolic representations of far longer, more grotesque periods, often years, stretching into the abyssal depths of cosmic time. Newton's calculations involved a complex, unsettling chain of reasoning, linking these biblical timeframes to the rise and fall of empires, those fleeting, insignificant blips in the face of cosmic eternity, and the perceived corruption of the Christian Church, a human institution riddled with the stench of mortality and decay. He saw history as a grand, horrifying, divinely orchestrated narrative, with specific events serving as signposts, as markers along the path to some preordained, and ultimately terrifying, conclusion. One of the key elements in his arcane calculations was the dating of the complete conquest of the three kings mentioned in Daniel's prophecy. Newton, in his ever-deepening obsession, identified this event with the rise of the Holy Roman Empire, specifically the reign of Charlemagne, whose coronation in 800 AD marked a significant, and in Newton's eyes, deeply ominous, turning point in European history and, more importantly, a pivotal moment in the unfolding of biblical prophecy. Starting with this date, this descent into madness, Newton applied his own twisted interpretation of the biblical timeframes, adding the symbolic years derived from the Book of Daniel. This process, though seemingly arcane and nonsensical to modern eyes, was a serious and methodical endeavor for Newton, rooted in his unshakable, and ultimately horrifying, belief in the literal truth and prophetic power of the Bible. His calculations, though complex and disturbing, were not arbitrary. They were based on a system of interpretation that he believed was divinely ordained, a key to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. The result of this intricate, and ultimately insane, analysis was the year 2060. It was not, as some have foolishly sensationalized, a prediction of the literal end of the world in some cataclysmic, fiery spectacle. Instead, Newton, in his twisted vision, saw it as a pivotal point in history, a time of profound and terrifying transformation, a transition from one era to another, a turning of the cosmic wheel. He saw it as the culmination of the time of trouble prophesied in Daniel, a period of tribulation and upheaval that would precede the establishment of God's kingdom on earth, a kingdom that might be more horrifying than any earthly destruction. Newton's writings suggest that he believed 2060 would mark the beginning of the Messianic Age, the era when Christ would return to establish his kingdom, ushering in 1,000 years of peace and righteousness. But even this peace carries with it a disturbing undercurrent, a hint of something ancient and alien. It was not an end, but a beginning, a new chapter in the divine drama of salvation, a drama that might well be a cosmic horror show. He wrote of the cleansing and refining of the church, the overthrow of Babylon, which he associated with the corruptions of Trinitarian Christianity, and the triumph of true faith, a faith that might be very different from what humanity imagines. It is crucial to understand that Newton himself, even in his growing obsession, was cautious about setting precise dates for such apocalyptic events. He recognized the limitations of human understanding when it came to divine prophecy, acknowledging that only God, or perhaps some more sinister cosmic entity, knew the times and seasons. In his writings, he often tempered his calculations with caveats, emphasizing that his interpretations were provisional and subject to divine will. He warned against the dangers of rash conjectures, and the discrediting of sacred prophecies when predictions, inevitably, failed to materialize. Despite his caution, the recurring emphasis on 2060 in his manuscripts is undeniable, a dark thread woven through his theological work. It was a focal point of his apocalyptic speculations, a date that held deep significance within his theological framework, a framework that was increasingly alien and disturbing. Whether it was a precise prediction or a symbolic marker, it represented a point of intense, perhaps even terrifying, contemplation for one of history's greatest minds. The discovery of Newton's apocalyptic writings has sparked considerable debate and discussion, a debate that often descends into the kind of madness Newton himself flirted with. Some have dismissed them as the eccentric musings of a brilliant mind grappling with theological questions that were simply too vast and unknowable for human comprehension, a side of Newton that is ultimately irrelevant to his scientific legacy. Others, perhaps sensing a deeper, more disturbing truth, have viewed them with a mixture of fascination and trepidation, seeing them as a window into the mind of a genius who dared to explore the intersection of science and faith, even in the realm of prophecy, a realm best left undisturbed. Scholars, in their own desperate attempts to categorize the unclassifiable, have offered various interpretations of Newton's theological work. Some emphasize the historical and cultural context, noting that apocalyptic beliefs were widespread in 17th and 18th century England, fueled by political and religious upheavals that seemed to presage some coming doom. Others highlight the influence of specific theological traditions, such as millenarianism, which posited a future thousand-year reign of Christ on earth, a reign that could be interpreted in many disturbing ways. Still others delve into the intricacies of Newton's biblical hermeneutics, analyzing his methods of interpreting scripture and his engagement with the apocalyptic genre, a genre that speaks of horrors beyond human understanding. Whatever the interpretation, Newton's apocalyptic writings offer a unique glimpse into the intellectual landscape of his time and the complex, often unsettling, interplay of science, religion, and prophecy in the mind of a man who helped shape the modern world. They remind us that even the most rational of minds can be drawn to the mysteries of faith and the enduring human quest to understand the ultimate, perhaps horrifying, meaning of existence. The legacy of Newton's 2060 prediction is complex and multifaceted, a legacy that continues to haunt the edges of human consciousness. It has been cited by various groups and individuals, often with differing agendas and interpretations, some more sinister than others. Some have used it to fuel apocalyptic fervor, warning of impending doom and calling for repentance, their voices echoing the madness of ancient cults. Others have dismissed it as a historical curiosity, a footnote in the biography of a scientific giant, a dismissal that may be a dangerous act of hubris. Still others have found in it a source of inspiration, a reminder of the enduring power of faith and the human desire for hope and transformation, a hope that may be ultimately futile in the face of cosmic indifference. In the years leading up to 2060, it is inevitable that interest in Newton's prediction will continue to grow, feeding on the inherent human fear of the unknown. It will undoubtedly be the subject of renewed speculation, debate, and interpretation, each more wild and unsettling than the last. Some may see it as a test of faith, a moment of reckoning for humanity, a chance for salvation or damnation. Others may view it with skepticism, pointing to the long history of failed prophecies and the inherent dangers of apocalyptic thinking, failing to understand that the true horror may not be a single event, but a creeping realization. Regardless of one's personal beliefs, the story of Isaac Newton and his 2060 prediction serves as a disturbing reminder of the enduring human fascination with the future, the enduring quest to understand our place in the cosmos, and the enduring power of ideas to shape our perceptions of the world. It is a story that transcends the boundaries of science and religion, inviting us to ponder the mysteries of time, destiny, and the ultimate and perhaps terrifying fate of humanity. The year 2060, whether it brings transformation, tribulation, or simply another turn of the earth around the sun, will undoubtedly be a year of significance, a year heavy with a sense of foreboding. It will be a time to reflect on the legacy of Isaac Newton, the enduring power of his ideas, and the enduring human quest to understand the mysteries that lie beyond the horizon of our knowledge, mysteries that may be best left undisturbed. It will be a year to remember that even the greatest of minds can be drawn to the questions that have haunted humanity for millennia, questions that may never have definitive answers, but that continue to inspire our curiosity, our imagination, and our hope for a better future, or perhaps, a future where humanity is finally forced to confront its own insignificance in the face of the vast, indifferent cosmos.